Well, how's fall break going for everybody? Everyone on fall break? Anyone not on fall break? Christian, yeah, Brandon. It's a real life struggle, I know. Yeah. So, can somebody tell me what we've been talking about the last couple weeks? Yeah. Yeah, being a difference maker. That's what we're talking about. So we kind of talked a lot about, how you personally have been designed to be a difference maker, which means what? What does it mean to be a difference maker? That means that you can make a difference in the people's lives around you. That's what we're talking about, right? I think that you are all gifted and you all have something inside of you to be a difference maker. So that's what we're talking about, right? So tonight we're talking about it in the context of being relational, right? To be relational, okay? So I looked it up because I always do. What does the word relational mean? And it clearly says, concerning the way in which two or more people or things are connected. It says concerning in the way in which two or more things, which I was like, oh man, I can't do it by myself, right? Anyone else out there? Anyone else? Yeah, I was like, the definition says I can't do this one by myself. Everything else we've kind of been talking about is like, oh, it's just on me. I can do it, But this one says that two or more people. That means that simply being said, to be a difference maker, we need somebody to be a difference to, right? That's kind of what I took away from the beginning. And I was like, oh man, it means I got to deal with people. I was like, gosh, that's hard. Sometimes it'd be hard. So we're talking about what does it look like to be relational. Okay, so those that don't know me, I love analogies. It's kind of my thing. I just love relating to analogies. So when I think about it, what does it mean to be in relationship? I think about when I built my house, right? So those that don't know, I built my house from the ground up in 2018. You want to see my house? All right, throw the picture up there. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah, there it is. So this is Andrew 2 years ago. You see, my style's changed. So this is our lot, okay? So this is the lot I bought. Pretty cool. Oh, don't go to the next one. Not yet. Sorry, we're not there. Go back to the other photo. Yeah. So there's the lot. You see all the trees everywhere, right? Yeah. So can anyone guess where my lot is with all the trees? In the woods. Grady? Arkansas? Any other guesses? Bella Vista. Yeah, trees everywhere. It's got to be Bella Vista. Yeah. All right. So, also, if you don't know me, if I talk about my house, I like to say that I built my house, right? I say it all the time. See, there it is. There it is. I like to say that I built my house, right? Because I did a lot of it, right? But when it comes down to it, like Mary said, it took a lot of people to build my house, right? We built my house, right? So Mary, obviously, her dad was one that helped me build my house. So, but when you really think about it, you're like, man, I did a lot of work, but I couldn't do it by myself, right? I had to be in relationship with somebody else that knew what they were doing, okay? So that's kind of what we're talking about. So that being said, it says that I can't build it alone, right? You can build a house by yourself, but in this case, I didn't. I didn't do it alone, right? Same thing applies in life. A lot of times we can't do things by ourselves, even though we think we can. I think I'm a pretty cool guy. I think I could do it by myself, but in reality, I still need help. And so what's cool about that is 2 chapters in, God thinks the same thing about me as a man. He says in Genesis 2:18, he says the same exact thing. He says, the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper who is just right for him, right? So in the natural, not only do I think I could do things alone, God says I can't. He says, not only am I going to create something for you, I'm going to make a perfect helpmate for you. So in the natural, God is telling us that, hey, guess what? You can't do it by yourself. You got to be in a relationship. You got to have people in your life. Even from the beginning, 2 chapters in the natural, God's saying, hey, you can't do this by yourself. So, also in that, doing it by ourselves, when we're talking about relationships, there's 2 kinds. So there's either we're in a relationship and those people help us what we're doing, right? Or we're in a relationship with people and we pour into them. Those are the 2 I want to talk about tonight. One is we're in a relationship and we kind of build each other up. We're doing this thing together. The second one is I'm pouring into this person because I have a relationship with them. I'm helping them to see where they can go. So that's the 2 we're talking about. All right. In 1 Corinthians 12, 20, 22, it says, yes, there are many parts of the body, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. Right? The head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that may seem weakest and least important are actually the most necessary. So again, back to the whole 2 or more people, those that God sends in our path to pour into, or those that God sends in our path to help us. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need you. I can do it by myself. It says in this verse that God says we can't do it alone. Everyone's important. Every one of you people have your own unique gifting. You've all been called to do something, and so we can't do it by ourselves. Everyone with me? First point, can't do it by yourself. Say it with me. I can't do it by myself. Wow, that's truth. That's truth. All right, so we can't do it by ourselves, so we need to have others, right? Unfortunately in life, we're always going to be in relationships. No matter where we go, no matter what we're doing, school, work, no matter what, we're always going to be dealing with people, correct? And what I've learned in life is that I always don't get to choose the people that I have a relationship with, right? When you work somewhere, I don't get to choose who I work with. People in my class, I don't get to choose who those people are. So no matter where we go in life, we never get to choose most of the time who we're around day in, day out. Did you get to choose your siblings? Anybody in here? Anyone get to choose your sibling? Yeah, no, that'd be pretty cool though. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you don't get to choose the people that you're with, okay? So back to that first photo. Throw it back up on the screen. There's trees everywhere, right? When I buy this lot, there's trees everywhere. Yeah, I was little. So, is that lot ready for me to build a house on? No, it's not ready the way it is, right? I got to do some work. Okay? The same way sometimes when you meet some people and we try to build relationships, there's some trees in the way, right? You follow me on that? Sometimes when I meet somebody, it's like this lot. There's some trees in the way before I can get to where I need to be with them. What I mean by that is sometimes when I walk up to somebody, the way that they look, the way that they act, the way that I perceive them, the way that I've heard other people talk about that person creates it where I can't build a relationship with them because there's trees on the lot. You know, I have to get rid of that judgment towards that person or that hard feeling towards that person before I can build a relationship there. See what I'm saying? So sometimes I can stop myself from being a difference maker just because I have a perception about somebody and I can't make a difference in their life. I'm stuck looking at the trees and I don't see the potential, right? When I took Allie up the road the first time to see this lot, she's like, we're going to build a house here? Oh, great. She couldn't see the potential, right? Trees are a distraction. Having prejudgment about somebody by the way they look, by the way they act, you know what I mean? If I judge Mary by her hair, and I can say that because we're friends, I would never get to know who Mary actually is, right? That's a tree for some people. You know what I mean, though? Sometimes, by the way you look, I know, yeah. So it's a tree that you've allowed to grow up where you can't make a relationship there. So what do we have to do? Cut the trees down, right? Yeah. So it says in Galatians 5:14, for the whole law can be summed up in one command. The whole law can be summed up in one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you're always biting and devouring one another, you hear that? If you're always biting and devouring one another, if you're always letting those trees get in the way, you're always judging other people, beware, you're destroying one another. Does that sound like you're building a relationship with somebody? No. So it says we must walk in love. Love conquers all things. That's a good point. That's a good point. We're going to come back to that. That love conversation is going to be all throughout tonight's message, is that with the love of God is how we do these things. So, also on this lot were all kinds of other things, like trees, tires, dishwashers, trash people have been thrown out there. I had a lot going on I had to get rid of, right? Yeah. But once we cleared it all, now we are at the surface level. Throw up that next photo. Right? So now I cleared the whole lot. Looks a little different, yeah? I got rid of all those judgments some people had on the lot, just like you have judgments towards people. I got all rid of that baggage that was on top of the land, and now I'm at what level? It's the surface level, right? This is the easiest part of the whole thing. Let me tell you that. Getting to the surface level on this lot was so easy. We got on a tractor, pushed it over. 2 days later, here we are. The same thing is true when it comes to relationships. The surface level relationship is the easiest thing to get to. This is the least amount of time you're ever going to put into somebody is getting to a surface level relationship. Hey, my name's Andrew. Nice to meet you, Christian. Surface level, right? If I don't spend any time with Christian, that's about as it gets, right? If I meet you all just in passing, if I just say hi to you in the hallway, if I just catch your name, if I try to remember, oh, hey, Brandon, right? That's a surface level friendship, right? Okay. I think a lot of times in life, we stay with surface level relationships because it's easy, right? It's easy. You know, there's no time invested. I didn't have to pour all this time into this person. I just cleared the lot with them. Or if there wasn't anything in between us in the first place, we just start on a surface level with each other. It's the easiest place. So, anyone who knows anything about building, now that I have the lot clear, what do? Mary McClay. We poured the cement. All right. Yeah. So next photo. Right there. There's my foundation. There it is. So underneath that foundation is about 2 feet of concrete below all of that, right? So in building, we have to go down before we can go up, right? We got to go down before we can go up. The same way as in relationships. We have to grow to know somebody. So we get to surface level, then we have to get to know that person before we can build upon that relationship. Following me? Okay. It says in 1 Peter 4:8, most important of all, continue to show love. Right, we talked about love in the first half, is you have to show love, that neighborly love, but sometimes we have to continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Sometimes when we dig into the ground, we find things we didn't know that were there, right? Big rocks, roots, gas lines, electrical lines that shouldn't be there. Same thing happens when you dig into people sometimes, right? So we get past that surface level of just knowing what you like, right? Everyone's had a surface level relationship, like, oh, hey, you like tacos? Me too, right? Like that's surface level. But when you start digging a little deeper, sometimes we find things that some people would say are unlovable, right? We find out things about people that we may not like, right? We find out things that aren't as pretty as what's on the surface, right? I think so. To go deep, we must start to love that person. We have to see them how God sees them. And sometimes when you dig down, everything's good to go, right? It just depends on what relationship. Like I said earlier, we're not always in charge of who we have a relationship with. Sometimes when you dig down, it's great. You know what I mean? When I dug down with Brandon, it was horrible. When I dug down with Christian, it was great. You know what I mean? It's just how it is, you know? But sometimes when you dig down, sometimes being a difference maker means we're going to have to dig in with people and really listen to what they have to say. And we're going to really find out who they are and what they've been through, right? When you dig down with somebody, you get to know them. You get to know what they've been through, right? That builds relationship. Now I have a foundation. I know who you are. I know what you've been through. That's real. That's a real relationship. You're past the surface there. All right, so now we have a foundation. What's next? Next photo. We framed the house. Yeah. So this is my living room, right? So we framed this up. So now I got studs up, right? Because I had something to build on. I had relationship with them. I tore down my judgments with them. Now I have a clear lot. We built a foundation. We found out some things about each other. We really did life together. Now we can build upon that. What does that mean? What does that mean? You're good? What do you think it means to build on top of that? All right, cool. No problem. Jesus, yes. Yeah, so now we build on top of that. This is the part of life I call just being together, right? You're just doing life together now, right? You've started this relationship. You no longer have this awkward, like, you don't know how to talk to each other. You can, like, sit and not say anything and everything's cool, right? You know what I mean? You are now a part of their life and you're seeing who they are and how they tick and really how they are in life now. Just like the framing, we can see how all of it is put together and really see who is all there. This is the hard part, right? Sometimes I'm talking about authenticity. Being authentic. There we go. Being authentic. We're talking about being authentic now, right? So you can fake up to this point pretty much, right? I can fake with clearing the lot with you and be like, yeah, I totally accept you for how you are. I can fake with listening, right? People do it all the time. Oh, I'm listening to you. Thank you so much for telling me those deep, dark secrets. But here, when you're doing life together, now in the framing stages of this relationship is where everything comes out. If you didn't have a strong foundation, you get to this point and you're like, oh man, this thing's out of square. What are we going to do? Oh man, this thing's not level. What are we going to do? If you don't have a good foundation, if you didn't dig deep with this person, now we got trouble. Because when you start framing, that's when we get into being authentic. Ah, geez. I can't say it. It's all right. So it causes transparency when you get to this place, right? Because I can see through the walls. Just like you can see through these studs, right? I can see exactly how the walls are framed. I can see if they did it right. I can see all the way to the back, right? So now we're in this transparency phase of where the relationship really is. Everyone still with me? You still following me? All right. So here it is. This is where it gets tough, and this is where we separate a real relationship from somebody who's being fake just to get something from you. And being a difference maker, we can be accused of this a lot. I get accused of it a lot. We're going to talk more about it because Paul was accused of it. What your end goal is defines the authenticity of the relationship. Hey, it's way easier to type it into Google than it is to say it, okay? All right. Authenticity. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. So, what your end goal is defines the authenticity of the relationship, right? If my end goal is to get to know you so you will meet Jesus, am I being authentic? That's the question. That's the question. Am I your friend just because I want you to come to church with me? Am I your friend just because I think you're rich and your dad's probably going to buy me ice cream? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it comes down to. At this point, it's hard to fake now because you're in a relationship. The framing is up. It's easy to see if somebody's being fake or not. Anyone ever known a fake person before? Yeah, it's real easy to see. Sometimes they fool you for a while, but once you get past that first stage and you're in that framing stage, you're like, this guy's playing me. He's not even my friend. You know, and it hurts sometimes. I tell you, this is where it meets the road here when you're being a difference maker, is people really, really can see who you are, you know? People will eventually see who you are, who you're made of. And so it's really important to be authentic, So talking about Paul, we're going to look into his life of dealing with relationships, okay? Paul, when he was writing this letter we're going to read, was hearing that after his visit to Thessalonica, people were accusing him of trying to use flattery to get converts into the faith. Flattery. Anyone know what flattery means? They were meaning like, hey, this guy's just trying to booze me so that way I'll become a Christian. Okay? For those of you that know, me in construction, I get accused of this all the time. People are like, you're just being nice to me because you want me to follow God. And I'm like, man, you think I'm that shallow? You know? And Paul's kind of going through the same thing where they're like, you know, they're accusing him of being like, oh, you're just being nice to me because you want to be a Christian. Man, I thought you knew me better than that, right? So this is what Paul says. He says in Thessalonians 2, 7 through 8. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I know. Big words tonight. I don't know what I was thinking. It says, you yourselves, dear brothers and sisters, that our visit to you was not a failure. You know how badly we had been treated in Philippi just before we came to you and how much we suffered there. Yet our God gave us the courage to declare his good news to you boldly. In spite of great opposition, you can now see we were not preaching with any deceit or impure motives or trickery. Sometimes we're going to be mistreated to be a difference maker. Sometimes when you're being authentic, people are going to treat you bad. That's what happened to Paul here. It goes on further to say, it says, for we speak as messengers approved by God to be entrusted with the good news. Our purpose is to please God, not people. You hear that? Our purpose is to please God, not people. Sometimes it's so hard to please people because we want them to hear what we have to say, right? It's so easy to fall in that. Man, if I just please them, if I'm just a little less authentic of who I am, maybe they'll hear what I have to say. That's not what it says. It says we're here to please God, not people. He alone examines the motive of our hearts. He sees who we really are. Never once did we try to win you with flattery, as you well know, and God as our witness that we were not pretending to be your friends just to get money. Man, to be accused of that, trying to be your friend just to get money, that's got to hurt. As for human praise, we had never sought it from you or anyone else. As apostles of Christ, we certainly had the right to make some demands of you, but instead, we were like children among you, or we were like a mother feeding and caring for her own child. We loved you so much that we shared with you not only God's good news, but our lives. Don't remember, my dear brothers and sisters, how hard we worked among you? Night and day we toiled to earn a living so that you would not be burdened at any of you as we preach the good news to you. You yourselves are our witness, and so is God, that we were devout and honest and faultless toward you as believers. And you know that we treated each of you as fathers treats his own children. We pleaded with you, encouraged you, and urged you to live your lives in a way that God would consider worthy, for he called you to share in his kingdom and glory. So no, that's a lot, but it's kind of a good picture into, when people question who you really are, Paul's saying, hey, you're questioning me, but I had the framework up. I was authentic with you. You've seen, people said these things about me because I'm a difference maker. They're trying to put me down because I'm trying to serve God. But you saw who I was. I worked hard. I didn't try to steal things from you. I was truthful. So that kind of moves on to my next point about me. So as a youth pastor, obviously my heart is for what? For youth. Yeah, right? My heart is to get you all saved, right? We can say it that way, right? As a youth pastor, that's obviously what I'm here for, right? I love playing games. I love doing those other things. But when you look at my framing, if I'm authentic with you, that's my goal, right? Now, what's interesting about that is, but even if you don't choose to follow God, even if you don't listen to what I have to say, that doesn't mean I don't want to be in relationship with you. You hear that? My goal is obviously this. That's my heart. But even if you don't choose that, I don't want to not be in relationship with you. Because why? That is what I call being in relationship with somebody trying to get something from that person. That's not authentic. Right? You'd eventually find me out if I actually didn't care about you. Our youth leaders actually care about you guys. Right? We think you're worth investing in. I'm not just here to make you all flattered by what I have to say and my horrible English so that you follow God. Now, that is my goal. But past all that, my goal is to be authentic and build relationship with you because I care about you as a person. We as difference makers are called to love and be in relationship with people, even if they aren't serving God. As you guys get older and you move out and you're in the real world, as people like to call it, and even in your day-to-day at school. Like I said, on Sunday morning, we went to the football game this last week, and I was like, oh, man, you guys got it bad. All those teenagers running everywhere, I was like, oh, man, this is way worse than when I was in high school. You guys got a lot of people running around that don't serve God, right? But as being a difference maker, you've been called to be authentic, to be somebody who seeks relationship with these people. But now as I draw to a close, we're going to look at what the house looks like afterwards. So go to the next photo. There it is. You can no longer see the studs, right? But you know they're there because you saw them. The same thing happens in relationship, right? We move past the point of digging the foundation, but you know it's there. Just like with a friendship, you know it's there. You move on to the framing stage and you see who they are as a person. You don't forget who they are, but we move on from that, right? We keep building upon that, right? So now I have sheetrock. And then the next stage, there it is. There's my living room finished, right? So just like in life, when you build a relationship, you keep building, you keep moving in that relationship. Now, it doesn't mean that we forget where we were, what we went through as friends, but now we can look at the finished picture and wow, that's beautiful. So what does it mean? This is a picture of being in a relationship with somebody we know that we know how we got there, and people will just drive past my house and say, wow, that's a pretty neat house, but they don't realize the work that went into it to make a house like that. The same thing happens when you have a really good friend, or you built this great relationship, and people are like, wow, how'd you have that relationship with Allie? Well, we worked on it, right? Even as friends, right? Like we worked on it. And so a lot of times in life, people will throw sticks at your relationship and be like, wow, that just happened. No, deep relationships don't just happen. They take work, just like houses. Same is true about your relationship. A deep relationship, this house, this finished house, what that looks like is a deep relationship full of authenticity. Yeah, it's full of authenticity, and that is what we were after, not just this surface level relationship. It's hard to be a difference maker if we never get past the surface. That's what we're talking about, is being a difference maker in your world. If we stay at that surface level, it's hard to get past. So we've been talking a lot about this. Let's throw the last picture up so you can see the whole thing. There it is. There's my house. Yeah. Besides, it's not blue anymore. Now it's gray. Yeah. But yeah, that's my house. And so, but you saw from the beginning to the end, and you just saw a couple of photos. You didn't see the whole thing. And that's the same thing in relationships that I'm talking about. It's hard to see how long it took for people to build these relationships. So now as we reflect on what we talked about tonight, I want you to think about all the stages and all your relationships in your life. Do you have people in your life that you need to cut some trees down with, some offenses that God's been tapping on your shoulder saying, hey, you should be friends with them, you should relate to them, but you don't really want to because they look weird or they smell weird or, junior hires, we know. Sometimes you smell weird, but, I'm going to cut that tree down and I'm going to get to the surface level with you. No. Have you built a little bit on your relationships, or do you have houses running around, right? We have many houses, many relationships that are fully built running around our lives, and that's awesome. And so I want you to think about that. I also want you to think in your life of who you're trying to build a foundation with. Is there anyone in your life, in your circle, that you're trying to build a foundation with? Somebody you're trying to pour into? Somebody you're trying to build up? And then lastly, I want to ask you a question. It is, in your life, is there anyone pouring into you? There should always be somebody pouring into you. Do you have that person that's willing to see where you're at, cut down those trees if nobody else is willing to cut down those trees, to dig down with you, see who you really are, and still love you when they see who you really are? Do you have that person that can dig into who you are and really like who you are? And then build upon that of who you are and build you up in the things of God and get you to a house. If not, if you don't have that person, I would encourage you that that's a great place to start. If you say there's nobody investing in me, I would honestly, I know it's going to sound weird, right? But I would look for someone in your life and say, hey, Bill, do you want to be my mentor? Do you want to help me in these things? I don't see anyone that's building me up. I don't have anyone in my life that sees good in me. If you don't have somebody, I would encourage you tonight. I'd encourage you any single time that you need somebody, come talk to me, come talk to any of the leaders. That is a great place to realize. And then lastly, I want to say one more time. I think there's some people in your life that God's tapping on your shoulder saying, let's get the chainsaw out and start cutting some trees down. I think there's some people in your circles that you haven't reached out to because they don't look like who you think you're looking for a friend or for a relationship to build upon. I think God wants to use you to be a difference maker with those people around you. Because if it's not you, who is it? And that's what we're talking about. I have you for a couple hours a week, but you have influence with people I will never even meet. Right? And so God is calling on you sitting here tonight to be a difference maker in your world. And that's what we're talking about. Talking about you being a difference maker. If you would just bow your head with me. Father, we just thank you so much that you can use my mangled up words to speak to these kids tonight. We thank you that you are good, and we thank you that if people don't have a mentor, they don't have somebody in their life that is pouring into them, God, that you will bring that person into their life, because that is so important. That's what we're talking about so much here at Catalyst, is having accountability and having people that build us up and keep us accountable. And so we just pray for that. We pray for the rest of their fall break, and when they head back to school, Lord, that you would use them to be a difference maker. We believe that they are able to do that. We love you and thank you for everything you do. In Jesus' name. Amen.